Mastercard Foundation has a strategy of focusing on women. They now came to WOFAN, who already has a business model of working with women. The main mission of Mastercard Foundation in the next 5 years is to work with 30 million youths. But this 30 million I'm talking about is in Africa as a whole. They now gave Nigeria 10 million out of 30 million, which means there's so much expectation from Nigeria to meet that target by the end of 5 years that we are having this program. So now for this 10 million is not tokenistic job. We're talking about quality job that someone will look at and feel dignified. So that is what we are doing. And this project now, my own segment of the project that I'm being supported with such a wonderful, knowledgeable team that are giving the right advice, is looking at these women and supporting them with input, timely input. If you are tracking us, you see we have commenced distribution of input since November. It also pays emphasis on agricultural equipment. You know, one of the biggest problems of farmers is we're still using the traditional method. So we are focusing on the use of handheld, simple agricultural tools like rice cutters, what have you, which we give to them based on the structure of the organization. We also emphasize on the importance of extension, and that is what this advocacy is all about. Extension means that you know that in Nigeria we have so many thousands of farmers to just one extension worker. Apart from that, services for extension workers, we know that it's getting poorer by day. But since we wanted to work with 1,500 extension workers for this project, bringing them on board 500 per year, we're going to the second year now. We discovered that it's difficult to go to any ADP and then just pull out 100 extension workers. They are not there, or they are not functional, or the capacity is not there. So we are putting emphasis in those trainings, working with the right research institutions and bringing in both private sectors to see that we build the capacity. And if you also check, you will see how much we have classified extension workers. We had to now source outside the main extension workers by identifying like those from, what's this program that, this youth agri program that got N-Power, sorry. Like N-Power were trained and dropped, they were not doing anything. We took advantage of that. We took advantage of those in colleges of agriculture. We brought all of them together. And through research institutions like this, we're giving them the right skills to work with the farmers. So having said that, we do all this training and they step down at community level. We work along with traditional leaders, community leaders. We have what we call the women centers where women converge to carry out their activities. But the most exciting part of all the things I'm telling you is that the project works across all the value chains, all the levels, from table to when you eat the food. In fact, eating the food, you have to even know whether you are eating 5-star food for breakfast, 5-star for lunch, and 5-star for dinner. So we let you know the nutritional values, everything about it. So we have processing centers for the women. They will package their things they are selling. And we're the owners of Taurarua rice. If you have heard of Taurarua rice, it started from this project, and it is now in the market that we are already selling with NAFDAC registration and so on. So this is the kind of activity that we're supposed to do. Just as we're doing this, and under our advocacy portfolio, the National Agricultural Policy of the federal government was launched. So it was just so timely for us to step in because we have identified the issue of poor agricultural services. And all the segments that we saw, they are relevant to what we are doing, and we decided to step forward to work with the team to support this national agricultural policy. So we have an advocacy team that is pursuing that to make sure that some of these things that came out as suggestions become bill, and we can even bring them up to become acts that we can use to improve the lives of the farmers. So my team will talk about those areas. So this is just a brief introduction to give you a mindset about what it's all about. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister.
Thank you for being the first to visit us, especially a day after Mr. President, 2 days after Mr. President has signed the 2024 budget. And thank you for the brief about the project, which is part of the Mastercard Foundation. We appreciate what Mastercard Foundation, and in particular, we appreciate this particular project, which not only is it a project that is targeting what ought to be the primary target of economic policy, because one of the mandates of this ministry is to ensure that the fundamental objectives of state, which are enshrined in the Constitution, are given effect to in policy making. So inclusion and social justice are central to the work of this ministry. And what you are doing goes to social justice. And social justice, it should not be tangential to economic policy. It should be hardwired in it, especially where you have a society such as ours, where across the 36 states at FCT, you had every morning, sometimes every night, hardworking women and men working in farms, fishing grounds, livestock, small-scale processing, but are not making ends meet. What is our obligation to them? Certainly we do have. Where government cannot do it alone, support by organizations, by programs such as yours come into play. Not only to support, but to even maybe periodically make us interrogate what the government is doing, so that to ensure that we are not throwing money at problem. Because as all of you, a plant pathologist, and even my brother who has become an agricultural scientist by dint of hard work, and indeed professors know that agronomic practice is one element of it. Because agriculture is science, the more science you put into it, the more the output. But then another elephant in the room is sociology and anthropology, cultural practices, which, among others, discriminate maybe against the bigger grouping that we are trying to, women, for example. And therefore, we have to see how both can work together. But luckily, there are practices that we can adopt to leapfrog and make more progress. And just as you have proven with Mastercard, there are even resources out there that are waiting to see innovation, are waiting to see line of sight. And a lot of it, we even have the resources ourselves, but the resources go to no use if you don't have a structure. So we are very, very happy to receive you today and to hear from you. And certainly we will be very, very happy to collaborate with you. First, Mastercard Foundation, like all foundations, are registered by the ministry. We know that Rita Roy is coming. She's leading a delegation, for example, in January, later this month. So, but more particularly, what brought you, not only is it directly a mandate issue, the Ministry of National Planning literally is the brain box of the country. Every other ministry is an implementing agency of the consensus that have been agreed and domiciled in the ministry, especially in a federal setup where, in addition to federal, you have states, you have local government. So every year we are in a country where there are over 700 budgets. So if there's no mechanism of sharing, of learning from each other, of drawing synergy, of knowing what works here, what works there, then efficiency is limited. So in the wisdom of our forefathers, that function is domiciled in this ministry, so that we can coordinate, we can call attention, we can remind ministries, we can remind states, we can, this meeting will be communicated to all the 36 states of the country. It's a collaborative mechanism. Here is what works somewhere, here is what, and then that way we can do much progress much faster. And then equally, not just government, national development is the responsibility of all associations, interest groups, so that they can periodically obtain and interrogate before you leave. Either you get the website so that you can see our Agenda 2050. What is our plan in agriculture? What is our national development plan? If by chance you interrogate it and there are some things you can guide us to do better, please, you are welcome to. That's how we make progress. And I'm very, very pleased that you came with Honourable Abubakar Atiku, because I'm sure myself and him must have visited Central Bank or Federal Ministry of Agriculture maybe no less than 20 times in the design of even the Anko Borrowers program, because it's out of passion. Out of passion. So he is very, very committed. I know it personally. And what you have invited him to do is a very serious missing link in our national life. Many people are contemptuous of the need to lobby. Lobbying has been given a bad name, wrongly, because in democracy, lobbying is central to democracy. One of the biggest lobby associations in the world is the American Tobacco Association. They maintain lawyers in Washington that lobby the National Assembly. American Rifle Associations. Many people are elected to elective positions based on popular appeals, local constituency-based appeal, not based on their knowledge bank. So if you who has a problem do not take a step constructively to educate them and say, please, you can help me in this direction, you will be presumptuous and literally you will not achieve your objective. So really it's central, and I'm very, very, and you couldn't find a better person. I know him very well. I know his level of commitment, and I'm sure it will help us. And so let me, on behalf of the ministry, say a big thank you to all for what you are doing, and assure you that we will partner with you in whatever way possible because what you are doing is consistent with our national plans, inclusivity and access to capital. I think items 5 and 6 of the 8-point agenda of Mr. President. Agriculture and food security is the first, poverty eradication is the second, employment. This all relates to what you are doing. And to that extent, and this goes to the heart of our challenge. An Ijo woman whose freshwater body has been taken by water hyacinth because of oil production that ignores her. What can we do for her? Her agony is no different from that of an Ilaje woman in Ondo or Ogun who is in the fishing ground as early as 4 a.m. or in Taraba or in Yauri or in Borno. The shrinkage of Lake Chad is one of maybe Africa's most catastrophic disasters in terms of its impact on women, in terms of impact of fish production, animal husbandry, a better term, livelihood. But the more victims are the women, they suffer more. Today, most of our conflict, the major victims or livelihood victims are women, for no fault of theirs, only that we are caught up. Of course, we know that even prior to banditry, prior to Boko Haram, there's no state where you don't find resource-based conflict that has been there for Ipe Modakeke, Ezas and Izas in Ebonyi and Cross Rivers, Juguns, Tibis, before now you have Fulanis and throwing into the mix. So all these are resource problems that call attention for us to bring science, like you are doing, so that every woman person can have some space in which he can conduct activity, generate value from such activity, and contribute to national prosperity and national harmony. That's, to me, what you are doing, and may God bless you. And we are all for it. Luckily, we have some experiences both individually and collectively. One, I will tell one of my aides to introduce you to a girl, Habiba. Habiba works for WACOT. And WACOT got a USAID grant solely for women in rice, and they identified, I think, 300 women in Audi local government and some part of Argungu local government. But maybe this is about the highest yield across the state. So it just shows that it's opportunity that women are looking for. Not that women are also not looking for it, but if we solve the problem for our mothers and sisters and daughters, I believe we have solved the problem for ourselves. So there are experiences that can be shared. I'm glad that we discussed about the land issue, because as Vice Chairman of the National Food Security Council, one day President Buhari directed, and I chaired a group of young persons in agriculture. And the land issue is something we need to pay attention to. And it works. One of my most memorable experiences as governor was one day when I came out of a mosque at the government house, and somebody who was very happy prior to that period to describe himself as a top came and held my dress and said, please, he wants me to come and see his farm. And he told me, I went with brought vehicles. We went, he was so proud of himself, how he had been able to produce 3 tons of wheat, and now this is his right. So these things work. They are common sense, they work, and they can solve, maybe the lowest hanging fruit to the solution to our problems, productivity, inflation. And that is why President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu recognized this very well in the 8-point agenda. That's why the first act he did upon being sworn in is to renegotiate a supplementary appropriation that was passed by the National Assembly, 819 billion, to carve out 500 billion. Out of that 500 billion, 200 was for agricultural intervention, 75 was to go for MSMEs, and 50 billion was to go to nano sector. Equally, the supplementary appropriation that was passed in 2 trillion is security, infrastructure, and agriculture, and social transfers to help those who have been affected by reform. The budget that was signed into law day before yesterday contains, among others, a 100 billion naira provision for school feeding. This is not just to get the children out of school, into school, and stay in school, but also to begin to address gray matter under investment, because nutritionists have warned us that a big segment of our population are having deformed mental processes because of nutrition failure. Equally, we have 100 billion naira provided for the takeoff of the National Agricultural Development Fund, thanks to efforts of Honourable, among others, for passing that in the legislation. And equally, between the National Assembly and the federal government, over 800 billion is provided for agriculture. I think this is maybe the highest allocation to agriculture in our national life. So convergence is necessary, synergy is absolute must, because without ideas, we'll just be throwing money at the problem. But with ideas and leadership and commitment from outfits such as yours, we believe we can make progress quickly. So once more, thank you very much, especially for bringing my brother. And be assured of my team. You can see how excited we all are, and myself, be assured of our support 100%.